Good evening all who are there in this group. I request all the members who are participating in this webinar, please mute yourself first. I request all the members to mute yourself. Okay, people will be adding slowly to the group, and we'll be sharing the group. In the chat box, we'll share the link of streaming on YouTube, and those who are not getting access to this group can be watched the live streaming of this session on YouTube. Okay. I request all the members to mute yourself without any disturbance for the webinar. And the speaker is here from Canada.
उसके बाद में कनाडा
Okay. Good evening everyone. This is Vijay, the coordinator of this webinar from the Department of Humanities and Science, Pallav Engineering College. On behalf of management and department, we welcome you all to this session. And today we have here the speaker, Professor George Vineet, NJ from Canada, and he has completed his master's degree in Central University, and now he is in Canada doing his linguistics in Victoria University. George, over to you now.
Vijay, and thank you to Pallavi Engineering College and Dr. Nagajyoti, the Vice Principal of the college, as well as Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, the head of the department, and all the coordinators who are involved, and all the participants, especially because without you there wouldn't be a webinar. All right, so today's topic is communication, the verbal and non-verbal aspects of communication in modernity. Now, without doubt, we all know that communication is one of the most essential skills that any person would love to possess or should possess in that sense. Well, discussing the title in the reverse order, it was Vijay sir's idea to put the word modernity in the title. So what is modernity? We can think about it. Now, modernity, a simple definition for modernity is the quality or condition of being modern. Now, what is modern? The interesting fact is that every generation considered, or at least most of the generations, after civilization to say, they considered themselves modern to the previous generations. So here we are in the 21st century, considering ourselves modern or postmodern in that sense. So in simple terms, I would say modern is something that we could consider as contemporary, today's world. So what's happening in today's world, at least in related to communication? The word immediately comes to our mind is technology, right? In the era of WhatsApp, Twitter, and Facebook, and Google Meet, webinars like this. My Google turned on when I said Google Meet. It's coded to my voice. Let me stop here a little bit and just wanted to check whether audio and video is clear to everyone. Could Vijay sir, could you
Yes.
could you give me a feedback?
Yes. Yeah. You can
Okay,
get.
so I'm getting a tons of messages saying it's all good, very good.
Okay.
So, having said that, so coming back to the topic. So in this era of technology and improved technological communications, which is mostly remote, it is essential and necessary to consider the aspects of effective communication skills. Having said that, let's come to the next term in our title, the important term, communication. Now, I deeply regret, because having a webinar about communication, and one person doing the talking is a bit of boring for me, and I don't really agree with that. I was just reading the messages, that chat box that was coming here. Anyways, coming back. So yes, we have the provision for chat box, but as there is a limited time for this webinar, it is unfortunately there won't be enough time for back and forth communication. Only we have reserved at least 10 minutes to the end of the webinar for an active discussion. So, having confessed that, let's come to the main topic: communication. What is communication? I think you can even chat that in the chat box. You can think of it. I think it's better that we think of what is communication a little bit before we dive deep into communication and non-verbal, verbal, the aspect of it. So what is communication in essential? All right, anyways, so a simple definition that I could come across communication, what is communication, is passing or exchange of information. Just think of that. It's the exchange of someone just chatted me, sent me a chat saying that it's an exchange of information, that you're very right. Yes, to make others understand what is in our mind. Correct. So it's either passing an information to someone else, or it's ideas, or it's an exchange of meaning, ideas, information. That's right. So every answer that I get, every chat that I read, that's this, imparting our ideas to others. Correct. Imparting, to share, exchange. Now, it's such a simple process, yet it is complicated. Or at least we try to complicate it in many different ways. So here, today in this webinar, I would like to divide communication and the aspects of it in three broad areas. Normally we see two, and even in our title we have only seen two: non-verbal and verbal communication. But I would like to add one more aspect to it. So it would be non-verbal, verbal, and self-communication. Going through each one in the order that is presented. Now let's see what is non-verbal communication. It's a good idea to get your understanding about non-verbal communication. Could you give me some answers or some thoughts or insights in the chat box? Yes, gestures, body language, precisely. So anything that is not a word, or anything that is communicated, an utterance, a word, could be termed as non-verbal communication. Unfortunately or unfortunately, a lot of things contribute as non-verbal communication. A lot of it can influence communication. Someone is saying sign language. Yes, it is a non-verbal communication, but science takes the sign language. In sign language, I suppose it's the signs which take the aspect of words, verbal. So I don't really agree with sign language considered non-verbal communication in that sense, but still, it's good to think about sign languages in communication. Now, so having discussed that, a lot of things which is not coming out from our mouth could contribute to non-verbal communication. In that sense, I would say, even in the first 3 to 4 seconds that you saw me first in the screen, I have communicated with you. I have either sent a positive message, or I have sent a neutral message, or sometimes, God forbid, even a negative message. Or in another sense, I would say, you consciously or unconsciously, and mostly it's unconsciously, has decided either to listen to me or just go through this webinar, even before I uttered a single word. So they say is the power of non-verbal communication, of the body language. Now, not only that, not only the body language, but even our very looks, the ambience. If it was in a conference room, in your college, in Pallavi College, the conference room, its ambience, its lighting, its setting, the quality of audio, everything could contribute to the message, to the communication, to the information that is exchanged. Don't you think that? I give other list of body language essentials here, like gestures, facial expressions, sound, tone, pacing, the pauses, and sometimes, not sometimes, essentially even the dress can communicate. I will come to that aspect if time permits towards the end of the webinar. Setting aside everything else, body language itself is a discipline that has to be explored. Spacing the distance. Someone I just saw spacing the distance. I think what the person meant is the distance between an individual to individual can also determine the value or the meaning of communication. We see in distance two persons communicating. If they are 1 feet apart, we would say, okay, they are very intimate because they have occupied the personal space of the other person. But if it won't be a good thing to do, or it won't be a right thing to do when professionals or in an office two persons speak in a professional way. So they would be having 3 to 4 feet distance according to their intimacy or the cultural circumstances. So it depends. So social distance, not social distancing. Excuse me. The spatial distance, distance that we keep between the individuals when we communicate really matters. Now, research says in a communication, 93% is non-verbal communication. That is a lot to attribute, I suppose. 93%. So what does it leave for the verbal communication? It's only a timid 7%. So does language matter at all? If verbal communication has only 7% say in the communication, if it's all by non-verbal communications or gestures, yeah, amazing. I got a chat saying that it's amazing. But that's what research say, 93% is non-verbal communication. To prove that, there is an interesting example from history. In 1960, there was a presidential debate in US. It was a debate between John F. Kennedy as well as, let me see, Richard Nixon, I suppose. Yes, it's Richard Nixon. There was a debate, and it was the first time in the history that a presidential debate was screened in television. Now, why does it make interesting? What is so interesting about is that not only that it was the first time that a presidential debate was screened on television, but the results that came out of the debate, in a sense, those who saw the debate in television thought that John F. Kennedy won the debate, or he had an upper hand in the debate. He won the debate. But the persons who heard the debate in radio without seeing any of the body language, without seeing the appearance, without looking into most of the non-verbal communication, thought the other person, Richard Nixon, won the debate. Now, how can one debate have two different results? Why? Yeah, someone asked me, why so? Because in television, we see the body language of the person. We see a lot of non-verbal communication. For non-verbal communication, John F. Kennedy was a star, at least in the debate. So he had an upper hand, or he won the debate. So his points made impact on people who watched the television, who had non-verbal communications linked to his verbal communication. But the other set who heard the debate or participated, in a sense, as an audience in the debate, like in radio, thought Richard Nixon won the debate, mostly weighing his verbal meaning or verbal communication. There is no aspect, can't say no aspect of non-verbal, but at least a very little percentage of non-verbal communication. So that is an interesting fact that we could look into,
sir.
about the effect or
Sir?
the importance of body language.
Sir.
Now,
ఇది గూగుల్ ఫామ్
I would come back to non-verbal. I think it's already
సర్టిఫికెట్ కూడా చేశాను నేను, అది మీకు పంపించిన
an hour. Oh my God, I think it's a lot of time already.
అది
So
మీకు లింక్
let's moving to the verbal communication. Yeah, it's half an hour. Yeah. So let's moving to the verbal communication.
ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఫామ్ షేర్
It's those words and utterances we
దానికి
use
సర్టిఫికెట్ అటాచ్
in the
చేయాలి సార్.
communication.
ఆల్రెడీ
Verbal
చేసేసాను
communication. So we have moved to the second topic, second aspect of
దాన్ని
communication.
ఫీడ్బ్యాక్
The
అవగానే
words
రిలేటెడ్
or
చేయాలి.
utterances could include fillers too, like yeah, right.
నేను చేసేసాను సార్, పంపించమంటే మీ మెయిల్
That 7%
సార్ మెయిల్
we use, but these are the words that we choose in a communication. The words and utterances we use,
feedback link అయితే
or
నేను
words
పెట్టేస్తాను
and
సార్.
utterances we choose in a communication, or at least we have the right to choose that.
ఓకే
Because non-verbal communication sometimes happens unconsciously. There is, our body don't lie. When we are afraid, we tremble, we sweat. Sometimes we are all calm. But then if our body sweats when we say something, or when we are in a class, or when we are leading a webinar, it says that we are disturbed or we are frightened of something. So non-verbal communications seldom lie. Yeah, but I'm not saying that we have to lie in verbal, but this is the 7% aspect in which we can choose our words. Now, according to me, coming to the last topic, the third topic, it's self-communication. Now, I have not heard someone talking about self-communication in verbal and non-verbal communication, or even in this matter of communication skills. So what do I mean by self-communication? It's simple as the term would say. It's a confidence in ourselves. Or have we communicated to ourselves? Do we communicate to ourselves? Do we know our own strengths and weaknesses? Can we say to the world, yes, you can kill me, but cannot defeat me? I don't know who said this, but for a long time I thought this is a line from Milton, from Paradise Lost, from John Milton, but I'm not really sure. I was trying to search its source, but I couldn't find one. You can kill me, but cannot defeat me. What does it say? Defeat is accepted by our own self and not from someone outside. Yes, they can kill you, but they cannot defeat your unwavering will or spirit. Now, why is this important in communication? It's very important because only if we are in terms with ourselves, we could be calm, or only if we are in terms with ourselves, we can listen to the other person. So there is a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is that something that we hear and lets out this way. We are hearing, we hear a lot of sounds, like we hear the sound of a fan, but we are not listening to it. It's all there, but we are not listening. When does listening happen? It's a conscious effort to understand what the other person is saying. So only if we are calm, I don't know. I got a message saying now. Maybe she is trying to say that now we are listening. Very good. Thanks for that. Anyways, listening happens only if we are calm in ourselves. Only if we listen to ourselves, then we can listen to other person. Once we achieve this, what happens? We would be able to clear our mind. As I said, we would be giving more importance to the message what the other person is trying to convey. We won't try to interrupt. We pause, we take time, we step into the other person and try to understand what the other person is saying. We won't be hasty to prove our point. We would be concise in our words when we communicate. We would be organized. So those are the essential skills for verbal communication: being concise, to the point, not beating around the bush, but to the point. Organized thoughts, critical thinking, and in a good phase of delivery. Only if we are calm, or only if we listen to ourselves. So I think this is a very important message, or an aspect that we should look into in modernity, because we see a lot of people in distress, in despair, going to extreme measures because they are not confident in themselves. The voice of the outside world is so huge that they are not listening, they are not communicating with themselves, or we are not communicating with ourselves. Are we grateful? Do we communicate to our Creator, to the universe, or to the Creator? All these aspects, I believe, is the foundation to communication, or effective communication. I am afraid that I'm getting a feeling that it's already been half an hour or more so. So maybe we will discuss further in our questionnaire session.
No, you carry on.
Vijay sir, what do you
7:15.
think?
Sir, you can carry on until 7:15. Then we'll keep the
How much?
questionnaire. 15 more minutes.
So how much time? How much more?
15 more minutes, sir. You can
How
go
much more
out.
minutes?
15 more.
15?
15.
15?
Yeah.
Oh, very, very good. Thank you. Yeah. So once it is 15 minutes, could you let me know that we will pause for questionnaire session?
Yes, definitely, sir.
All right. All right. Yeah. So taking the talking about the self communication, I would say, as most of the students are from first year, I think first year engineering students, that's what Vijay sir told me. Most of them, I'm not saying every one of them. I would like to drive home a message about self-communication, about integrity, about confidence. Now think of a simple subject in the context of college and studies. Can we take a decision that I am ready to share, I am ready to communicate who I am really, in essence, to the world? Taking a simple, or for instance, in our exams, now there are a lot of chances for malpractice, even if it's a written exam or a project or something. Can we make that decision that whatever the result may be, I am ready to take up, I'm ready to accept the marks that I get? Let it be 2 out of 10. Let it be 1 out of 10. Let it be 0 out of 10. Let it be a complete failure. But that mark, that 1 mark, that 2 mark, that 0, it's myself. It's mine. I did not copy it from someone else. It's not that 1 mark that I have, that half mark that I have, it's not somebody else's, but it is mine. Are we ready to take up defeat? Defeat in not that sense that we say that you can kill me but cannot defeat me. No, that's not a defeat. Defeat happens when we let go of ourselves. Do we communicate to others that I am a parasite? I live with the fruits. I live with someone else's good deeds or their work. Or are we ready to work ourselves? So that is an essential aspect I think that we should all cultivate, because I can confess here that I'm not a good proponent or of saying who, like, to be true to yourself, because in Indian context, I copied, I did malpractices in exam, but there was a certain time in my life that I decided that I would be true to myself. I will never do that again. From that time onwards, I was able to be precise, that was after my +2. Yes, it was a long time till I got to decide that I would not do malpractice or I would not copy. But from then, something changed in me. I was able to listen to myself. I was able to communicate. I developed an unconquering spirit, an unconquering will, that it's not the outside voice that could defeat me, or that could communicate, or that could overpower me, but I would listen to myself. So this is the foundation on which our communication or the communication skills rest, whether it is verbal or non-verbal. Now, excuse me. Now the research say that 93% of our communication is body language. Now, even though the research say that, I have a different opinion about it. Yes, nonverbal communication has a huge share in communication, but that begins to fade away when verbal communication takes its place. What I mean is that, yes, when we see somebody out of his her or her appearance, looks, dress, ambience, face gestures, expressions, we come to decide whether we should listen or not to that person. But once that person starts to communicate verbally, our assumptions about that person might change. I remember Professor Harris. I don't know whether any of you would know him. He is from Kerala. He is from Mahatma Gandhi University. He is no more, but however, he was the dean of HOD. He was the dean of English department in Mahatma Gandhi University. He was a simple man. He was dressed in shabby dress, or he did not always comb his hair, dress his hair. If we see him on road, on streets, we would not recognize that he is a professor, or he's a head of the department of a prestigious university, a department, English department. So one person who sees Professor Dr. Harris would make subconscious decisions that this person cannot speak, this person is of no worth, or this person cannot lead a conference, or this person cannot communicate anything effectively. These are some pre-assumptions that we would have seen him. But once that person starts speaking, then the magic happens. Because the words, the verbal realm of it, the 7% that we set aside as non-essential takes its place. And the body language, the non-verbal language, the huge chunk of 93% begins to fade away, and the verbal communication comes. Why I said is this, because we don't have to give more importance to our looks, our presentations, or the ambience. Yes, it has its own meaning, its own realm, but when words come into play, we do not bother about the other other aspects of communication. We give importance to the meaning, the word, once we start to listen. Now, there is another aspect of nonverbal communication which is hidden. Looks are deceptive. Someone is saying, yeah, not to judge a book by its cover. Now, that is one aspect of communication. But the other is, there are certain clues, there are certain cues that we send unconsciously. For example, in body language, they would say someone itching their eyes in conversation, someone covering up their neck while talking, someone pursing their lips. It's an immediate disagreement to what we are saying or the other person is communicating. We do not want to continue the sight. An itch in the eye, touching, the attitude. Someone was saying it also says the attitude that the other person is not listening. But a lot of people say, like crossing our hands means the other person is not interested. But that is not essentially true, because this is a comfort position. It's not just saying that, no, I'm not listening to you. No, it's also a comfort position where I give a self-hug. So every communication, every nonverbal communication is not, research say it is, because it changes in time. But there are certain postures. There are certain postures of confidence. We see that in body language. Now there are tons of talks in internet. There are tons of resources in the internet that we could search about body language. One of it says that when we speak, if we keep our hands open, it conveys a better message. It conveys that we are open, we have nothing to hide, other than saying this, like I am overpowering you, you hear what I am saying. More than that, if we have an open hand, we can see in some of the world leaders in their communication. The last one, I think Dr. Vijay sir has turned on his mic, but the last one, like steeple fingers or steeple hand, it conveys confidence. So yes, there are certain aspects that body language we cannot deceive other person with body language, because body speaks the truth, even if our words do not. So I'm not saying that body language is totally irrelevant, but I'm saying there is other aspect of body language where we do not have to give a lot of importance, because one word comes in, verbal communication comes into play. If you are saying something of worth, think of it this way. If someone is not good looking, their audio quality is poor, like a YouTube video, consider a YouTube video. Audio quality is poor, lighting conditions are poor. But if that person is saying something of worth, something that we need, we require, it's gems for us, it's rubies, diamonds, it's good information, then we listen to that person intently, right? So it's the words that matters. Now, how we can communicate well. So communication skill, verbal communication skill. So I told you, we discussed that a concise and orderly message is very essential for verbal communication. Then there are certain aspects like stress in the sense there are word stress and sentence stress. For example, I can say one sentence in 3 or 4 different ways. For example, I can't hear anything from here. I stressed on I. I can't hear anything from here. Perhaps you can hear. I can't hear anything from here. I can't hear anything from here, but I can see. I can't hear anything from here. I can't hear anything from here, which means perhaps if I move 2 or 3 steps forward, I could hear. So there is stress. Even the same sentence said in 3 different stress patterns can change the meaning. So effective use of stress, effective use of tone, rising and falling intonations, pauses, the pace of delivery. We see our teachers used to take a slow pacing, a pauses before they communicate something which is very, very emphatic, or it's a tool to emphasize something, which is where you have to listen. It's an important point that they are trying to drive across. They slow it down. It takes our attention. So pacing, tone, the stress in the sense word stress and sentence stress, pauses. And many people say fillers like, what I'm trying to say is, in essential, that is what. Or when someone is communicating that we say, the verbal response, or even a nod. It's a non-verbal communication. It's something I think I normally communicate or normally say to my students that do not give a pan face to your teachers. It is very good if you could nod, non-verbal communication from our part to the speaker. So it's a good practice. It also, our body is also saying that, okay, we have to listen to that person, listen intently, and we are understanding what the other person is saying. So what I meant to say is the stress, intonation, pauses, fillers in that sense, all contribute to our verbal communication. So what do we drive home after the half-an-hour talk? From non-verbal communication, I would say, yes, try to make use of the powerful body language, that 93% that we could make use of in our communication. Non-verbal communication as a receiver, nod, listen to the other person. Now, I completely forgot, and this happens in all communication skill sessions. The most important thing in communication is not speaking, but it's listening. That's why we have one mouth and two ears. We have to listen twice and speak once. We have to listen more and speak less. Listening is one of the essential skills of communication. Only if we listen. Do not have I think it's not better to have a prejudice, or not prejudice, a ready-made answer in our mind before the other person finish saying something. It especially happens with students and teachers. It happens both ways. As a teacher, I would say, when a student starts speaking, saying something, I immediately think in my mind, which is not good, that, oh, this is what he or she is coming to. I know what he or she is saying. Now that is a biased view, or that is not good communication. So it's always better. It's not always better. We should, in effective communication, we should completely listen to the other person. Pause, let it sink, and then communicate. Vijay, is it your mic?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we could move into the question and answer session.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. George Vinith, for your valuable time spending with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Vijay.
I leave the participants.
Pleasure.
If anyone is willing to ask any question to the speaker, you are most welcome. Any speakers? Any participants?
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yes.
It was really a wonderful session, a very free-flowing, very engaging session by you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yes.
Yeah. I'm Ravi Shankar Panikar, head of the Department Communication Skills in BIT Engineering College, Raipur.
All right. Yes, Ravishankar.
Yeah. I would be happy, sir, if you can just give us a couple of inputs regarding hand position during interviews.
Yeah.
That would be very fruitful for us engineering college students, because most of us would be focusing on campus. So it would help
Right.
us. Thank you.
Yeah. Campus interviews, you mean?
For the selections of jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Thanks, Ravi Shankar, for that question. So normally in interviews, we would be in a seated position. So there is always a question that where our hand should be in an interview. I would say it depends upon person to person, because most of the time we would have a file with us that we carry to the interview booth. So I won't say something very bold or odd, in a sense, keeping our hands on the table in front of the interviewer, because it looks like that in front of the interviewer,
Yes.
like something bold. So it could rest on our thighs, either this way or this way. So as I told you, the steeple position, it shows confidence. Now a lot of communicators use this position high up above to show confidence, but not in interview. Yes, we can make use of this. We can keep our hands like that away from the interviewer, which would send our body a message that we are confident. So that would help us unconsciously. But while we communicate to the interviewer, we can make use of our hands and use hand gestures and let it go back and rest on our thighs. And we can also practice the steeple position like that, which would unconsciously send us a message that we are confident. It's always said that before going to an interview, take a power pose, like go on to a toilet or a private space and stretch yourself. It gives confidence. So the body communicates back to our mind saying that you're good to go. That's a power pose. Did I answer your question, Dr. Ravishankar?
Very nice.
Yes, all right. No problem. Pleasure. Good that I'm happy that you asked that.
Thank you.
How to be assertive. But I can be assertive. I'm really sorry. I don't think that would be possible because of something. I can be assertive. Now this won't be a very good example, but what I'm trying to say that maybe help yourself. Or would you like to come with me? Let's go together. Or I would be. You don't have to lie to be assertive. You can say the fact, but in a polite term. I think that itself it needs a lot of attention, assertive communication. But this is the point that it should not slip into aggressive, but we say what is our opinion in polite terms. More diplomatic. Someone is saying more diplomatic. Yeah, diplomatic conversations is some such skills that the modernity demands. But it doesn't say we have to lie. Did I answer your question? The balance? Yeah. I'm trying to read the chat box and yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Sir,
The
excuse
time
me.
permits, we can go on to different questions. Yes?
We have one more question here from
Yes.
Ernest Joseph.
Ernest?
Ernest Joseph.
Ernest Joseph, yes.
Yes, he is asking,
Mhm.
you have given an enlightening distinction between verbal and non-verbal communication. My
Yes.
question is, how can we master non-verbal communication?
How can we master?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Non-verbal communication.
Yeah, I get that. Yes. So how can we master non-verbal communication? Now, a lot of politicians and world leaders attend courses to master this non-verbal communication skill. Some non-verbal communication happens, what you say, unconsciously. But of course, some non-verbal communication could be mastered. Now, how can we master? By learning more about it or getting to know. So for a simple example could be listening to TED Talks about body language, YouTube channels speaking about body language. So now we know someone itching their eye, or someone covering their neck, or in a conversation someone doing this. We know that it's immediately they are expressing doubt, right? So those are cues that we can understand the response from the other person. Someone is nodding, yes. We all know that when someone nods, that he or she is agreeing to us. So I would say an effective way would be trying to learn more about body language from experts. And we don't have to go anywhere. I think a ton of information is there in the internet itself, from TED Talks and YouTube channels. If that helps you. Now, someone asked me that what are the nonverbal communications a good teacher should possess? A teacher should be a good communicator. So body language, the 93%, the big chunk, I would say a teacher will have to use all non-verbal communication skills to be an effective teacher, because a teacher in essence is a communicator. So he or she would have to learn how to stand, how to walk, how to stretch their hand while they talk, how to use of their facial expression, the minute details, the stress, the tone, the pacing, intonation. So there are a lot a teacher as a good communicator should be learning about both non-verbal and verbal communication. Did I answer your query well, or is there anything that I would need to add? Is there any other question? Ernest Joseph has answered me yes. I am happy that I was able to communicate that well.
Okay.
You're
I
welcome.
think,
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's already time. We have crossed the given time. Thank you, Mr. George Vinay,
All right.
for joining us in this webinar. On behalf of our management and Vice Principal, Dr. Nagajyoti ma'am, I thank you wholeheartedly, and I thank all the participants who have come and spent their valuable time with us, asking their questions and appreciating, and we got a positive
Thank-
responses. And what else? If you want any queries or anything, sir is already on internet all the time, active, and he has a separate YouTube channel called GV12. You can ask questions there, and he is the founder of Rejoice Life, Language and Career. So you can join in that group, and you can ask your queries as many as you want, and clarify your doubts and prosper in communication skills. Okay, thank you, Mr. George, once again.
Yes.
Thank you, Ananto. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot, Vijay, for this. Yeah, this wonderful opportunity. Thanks to Pallavi Engineering College, and also to Dr. K. Nagajyoti and the Vice Principal, and Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, and also Mr. Ravi Shankar, who was, I think he was an HOD from another department or college, and all those participants and those who raised their questions and complimenting my humble session. A lot of people are sharing their thanks and gratitude. I am thankful to all of you too. Please, in the YouTube comment section, if you have any further questions, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Over to you, Vijay.
Yeah, thank you once again. I'm going to end this session here. Thank you.
Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
great. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
once again.
Thank you.
Thank you for wonderful question.
Thanks a lot.